So, what is going on, guys? This is Ryan here.
And this is other Ryan here.
And today we once again have another interesting video for you all. Now, this one is actually going to be covering the concept of if the kill on the phone guy in Five Nights at Freddy's One Night 4 could actually be a revenge kill from Golden Freddy.
So yeah, we originally speculated in another video called We Are Golden Freddy that the child we play as turns into Golden Freddy. And if you haven't actually seen that video, we'll be linking it on screen now. It's a very interesting theory indeed.
Yes, and this theory will actually be relating a lot to that previous video, and a lot of inspiration actually came from that, so we have to really think back to Five Nights at Freddy's 4 on the first night in the minigames and the scenario we're actually placed within.
Yeah, many of you guys have actually been commenting on our latest video, well, many of our videos, saying that the knock that we hear in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 Night 1 could possibly be similar to that in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 Night 4.
Yes, we actually hear the distinctive knocking of what appears to be the animatronics as the phone guy gives us his final phone call before his demise, and just following that as well, we hear some very unique screams, which it's very hard to decipher which animatronic it could be, which almost relates it to a more mystical animatronic.
Yeah, I believe that, that's obviously still a massive debate. No one knows who truly killed the phone guy, but we could speculate it to be Golden Freddy, because Golden Freddy is actually the last scream we hear before the phone call ends. And it's just ironic because we've said in the previous video also that maybe this child's father is actually the phone guy. And recently Scott Cawthon has actually debunked the theory of purple guy and phone guy being the same person. So it must be like the phone guy, because we know that in the actual games that we play, we see pictures of Scott Cawthon who actually voices the phone guy. Yeah. So it kind of just like all links together, and we know that obviously the phone guy works at this establishment, so it all kind of makes sense.
And it's starting to tie into more scenarios than just one, really. We have to think about the phone guy. He's not really that innocent in all of this, and really when you think deeply as well, it proves a lot of things, that there must be actually more than one killer, or at least more than one person who has knowledge of these killings that are taking place in the various Freddy Fazbear's Pizza establishments, which is really quite concerning to think about for the reputation of the actual company.
Yes, so basically, we know that this child gets tormented pretty much every day by his family. And in another video, we actually mentioned that maybe there's two bullies. When you're inside the house, that's actually the father, and when we're at the establishment, that's actually your brother.
And it makes a lot of sense as well, also going off of that, because if we remember in the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2 phone calls throughout the various nights, the phone guy always has this distinctive likening to the actual Foxy animatronic character out of all of them. And ironically, when we're actually in this house, we see a Foxy mask being worn by the protagonist, and it's actually a different Foxy mask to the one we see in the establishment in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 that the bullies are wearing.
Yeah, it's a bit more adult-like, more like adult life-sized almost.
More mature, and it almost seems like the proportions of this guy as well are a little different. He seems to be a little bit more bigger and maybe even stockier.
So this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because as we know, in Night 3, Five Nights at Freddy's 4, we were all introduced to this Fredbear and Friends 1983, and it wasn't in our faces. We actually had to find this Easter egg. And basically, in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, I believe it's night 5 or 6, the phone guy actually says, I think the place was called Fredbear's Family Diner. Now, what if this Fredbear and Friends is actually like a alias to the characters themselves, and Fredbear's Family Diner is the actual restaurant of the place?
Which would make sense,
Yeah, that 1983 was the origins. And we know that obviously in this Fredbear's Family Diner, in the Give Cake to the Children minigame, we see Freddy giving cake to these children, and that's where the first child actually dies.
Yes, and that could be a direct reference, as Ryan said, to the first murder taking place in 1983. And with that in consideration also, we can see that the puppet does not actually exist during this time period, so it's quite plausible that maybe he was actually possessing this Fredbear doll.
Yes, this Fredbear doll actually works like a narrator throughout the whole story. He pretty much is telling you how bad this person is that's, locking you inside your room and tormenting you every single day, almost like he has first-hand experience on what kind of monster this person is.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the most important thing as well we have to remember in this, guys, is the distinctive white eyes of the Fredbear plushie. Yeah. This sort of thing has only really been unique to the one specific character, which is the puppet, and we have to remember again, this Fredbear character on the bed, we are presuming to actually be a plushie, and we know that this puppet character also is not an animatronic. He doesn't have an endoskeleton, and he appears to have haunted possession-like powers.
Who's to say that, he can't take on any kind of form that he wants to? I mean, it kind of explains in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 during the cutscenes why we see Golden Freddy and the puppet one night between each other. They've got this kind of connection between the two. And as we know, on night 5 in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, the Fredbear actually promises to fix him together. So it's kind of all linking together. I mean, that with the Happiest Day minigame as well,
Yeah.
taking cake to this child that we presume to be Golden Freddy to free their souls. I don't know, it's like he's sticking to his promise almost.
Absolutely, and I think another thing as well we have to consider is what the phone guy says in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in regards to the puppet. He seems to know the puppet quite well, where he actually says that he doesn't like the puppet because it's always thinking. Now, we see this Fredbear plushie in the same house as what we're speculating to contain the actual phone guy, aka Scott Cawthon, so maybe he does actually know about this puppet character. Maybe not in the puppet form, but in form of the Fredbear plushie, and so he actually transferred it to the puppet to actually keep it out of his home and within the establishment.
Yeah, which would definitely make a lot of sense towards the whole story in general.
Absolutely, yeah. And there we have it, guys. So that was a pretty in-depth discussion talking about if in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 Night 4, the Golden Freddy actually gets a revenge kill on the phone guy in the phone call. Hopefully you did enjoy the video, and be sure to comment down below any of your thoughts in relation to this topic.
Yes, if you guys did enjoy this video, why not leave a like rating, as it's much appreciated, and if you're new to our channel, why not subscribe for more interesting videos like this and also some gameplays.
So thank you very much for watching the video, guys. We do hope you did enjoy, and we'll of course see you on the next one.
Goodbye, guys.
Want to see even more content from us?
Consider liking and subscribing to ensure you'll see all content in the foreseeable future.
And hey, why not check out our past 2 videos?